Now, undoubtedly, some people are gonna say, well, that seems a bit unfair that you just make up your mind like that before even watching the movies. What if you end up being wrong? Good question. There's an answer to that too. If I end up being wrong about a Marvel movie's quality and it comes out and it turns out to actually be good, I win! That's great! Cool, I'll watch it. Why not? Why wouldn't I want to watch a good movie?
So, let me get this straight, because here's the argument you literally just made. I'm gonna go ahead and shit on every Marvel movie that comes out before it comes out. And if it happens to be good, hey, cool, I got a good movie. So you're just admitting you're just gonna shit on it all. And if it happens to be good, okay. So all your speculation leading up to it is going to be garbage, because you just admit all you're gonna do is shit on it. So what's the point in your even listening to your speculation before the movie comes out? What's the point?
This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by Gems Art Studio. This video is also brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello again. Thought it was time to go ahead and look at some requests. So this time we will be looking at a request from Modmaker. I got a suggestion. When I was anti-woke, Anomaly Inc. was the YouTuber I watched the most. Now when I grew up and now I'm pro-woke, looking at his channel, it's cringe and just the MCU and Riva hate. So yes, we will go ahead and look at Anomaly Inc., which is not a channel I've heard of. I brought them up on here. They have 50,000 subscribers. They're not a whole lot bigger than I am, but you know what? They're bigger than I am. And view count-wise, they are killing it. Pretty good. Like it, not all of them, but pretty good. One thing I will say is they like the Batman. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 is a masterpiece. So I will give it to these guys that they're not pure negativity, which is usually what I see from these channels. Out of curiosity, where are they on the Brie Larson score? Hey, there's only one Brie Larson thing. Why Captain Marvel is one of the worst MCU films. Okay. A bit hyperbolic, but I don't know. One of the worst. I don't know. Yeah. MCU's overall not terrible, so is Captain Marvel one of the worst? Yeah, I don't know. It's meh. It's not great. I'm seeing lots of repeated use of thumbnails. So this video from 2 weeks ago, Riva is the worst Star Wars character and Kenobi is indefensible. Riva is the worst Star Wars character and Kenobi is indefensible demonetized version. So what, this got demonetized and what's this? The decline of the MCU and why I'm done with the MCU Phase 4. I hate that phrase, MCU. It's so dumb. The decline of the MCU and why I'm done with the MCU Phase 4 demonetized version. Why are some of these versions demonetized? I am confused. Maybe because YouTube's not thrilled with some of this stuff. Hey, maybe. You know what? Lots of these are very long. So, and usually I can get the gist of these guys in less than, fucking hour. Fucking 3.5 hours. 3.5 hour essay on why Spider-Man 1's really good. Okay. But let's go ahead and see. I'm finally done with the MCU. The decline of the MCU and why I'm done with it. This is 25 minutes. So let's look at this guy.
Okay, before I start...
Okay, no fucking explicit language here, you fuckface. Jesus Christ.
this video off, let me just say this. I am not an MCU hater. I've been a fan of the MCU since all the way back in the day when Iron Man first exploded into the box office and started the damn franchise, and that was all the way back in 2008. 2008, 14 years ago. That's how long this once awesome, though now a soulless corporate trash fire of a franchise has been running, which is still being ejaculated from the loins of one of the 21st century's greatest creative hacks, Kevin Fuckwit Feige. Many people have recognized this and have dropped off from watching the MCU.
Okay, you can throw whatever you want at Kevin Feige, but if you ever liked the MCU, he's the reason for it. Without Kevin Feige, the MCU doesn't exist, so don't be like, oh, it sucks now, and it's because of Kevin Feige. Okay, you might have that opinion, but the only reason it ever existed was because of Kevin Feige. Just gonna throw that out there.
Anymore or indulging any of its new releases, but a sizable chunk of its fans remain. To be honest, despite the decline of the MCU, I still considered myself to be among its collective of fans until quite recently, in fact, when I came to a realization. And that realization is this. See, Doctor Strange 2 is coming out in a couple of weeks, and honestly, I couldn't care less if I tried. It recently hit me like a bolt of lightning that I've barely, if at all, even thought about the upcoming MCU movie in the past 2 months. The last time I paid it any kind of attention was when we discussed the movie's controversial leaks on the channel's podcast a number of months ago. Which, speaking of Marvel leaks, I'll get back to them later on because they're also a big reason why I can't continue to indulge this franchise anymore, as well as the insufferable culture surrounding it. But see, I just kind of woke up to the fact that aside from Spider-Man No Way Home, I haven't seen or cared to watch any of the MCU films or television series in the timeline since after Spider-Man Far From Home, which came out all the way back in 2019. I have seen...
Wait, so he hasn't seen any of the MCU since Far From Home, but he's gonna say it sucks now? What the fuck, dude? Maybe watch it, before you judge it. Listen, if you're not interested in watching it, then don't watch it, but then don't turn around and say it sucks. That's all I'm asking. You can say you're disinterested, but don't say it sucks.
Seen Black Widow. I even made a video about it, but I consider that an exception since despite its date of release, chronologically it takes...
Okay, so you have seen Black Widow, but you're saying it doesn't count because it's takes place in between Civil War and Infinity War? But it came out after Far From Home. These movies don't exist as movies in the MCU universe. They exist as movies in our universe. So you would look at them from when they're released in our time. You don't say, oh, the last one I saw was Far From Home, but I also saw Black Widow. No, the last one you saw was Black Widow then.
Place in what's referred to as the Infinity Saga, which, despite its ups and downs, is exactly where the MCU should have ended, and where the franchise undoubtedly peaked. Basically, aside from the Spider-Man movies, which is one of my personal favorite comic book IPs, I haven't seen WandaVision, I haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Eternals, Shang-Chi, and certainly not Moon Knight, and...
Okay, so... FYI, Moon Knight's awesome. Loki's pretty damn good. Loki's awesome. I'll give Loki. WandaVision's pretty awesome. I like Doctor Strange 2 quite a bit. Movie-wise, I'm trying to think movie-wise. No Way Home was good. They still have plenty of good stuff. And I still stand by. Phase 4 is better than Phase 1.
Oh, wait. I forgot that fucking Hawkeye was a thing as well. And nope, I haven't seen...
Oh yeah, Hawkeye was pretty good too.
I only know that they ruined Wilson Fisk. Thanks, Feige. I'm sure you were real butt...
You only know that you ruined Wilson Fisk. Well, you haven't seen it, because guess what? They didn't ruin Wilson Fisk. He had a very small role in Hawkeye, but they didn't ruin him at all.
Heard that Netflix made a better Marvel villain than 95% of the trash you've churned out over the course of a decade. But the point I'm getting to is this. Doctor Strange 2 is coming out, and I'm expected to watch all this crap in order to get it? I haven't watched any of them. And plenty of other MCU fans, current or former, haven't watched them either.
Okay, so... what we're dealing with is someone who, okay, you watch the Infinity Saga, you watch Infinity War and Endgame, and then you enjoyed it, but then you're kind of burnt out. This is 100% an understandable feeling. I get it. I got a little bit burnt out too. I stuck with it because I'm just a comic book junkie, but I get the feeling of burnout after Infinity War and Endgame. Those are such a huge event that I get it where it's like, okay, I need to cool down. I get it. In fact, there's that 2020 where we got no MCU stuff, and I was kind of okay with that because I think the break helped. Because when they finally got to WandaVision, I was actually kind of excited to get back to the MCU. And then obviously you haven't gotten to the point where you're excited to get back to the MCU, and that is 100% okay. But you can't turn around and say it sucks because you haven't seen it. You don't know if it sucks.
Because they don't care. They're apathetic because they know the franchise has already peaked and now it's crumbling, which is the real reason why not only are a large...
Well, we actually don't know if it's peaked. Yeah, it probably has. I'll be frank. It probably has peaked. But we actually don't know. They're actually taking the logical route because, as I've brought up in many videos, you can't keep on building and building and building. Eventually, you have to let out some steam before you can rebuild. And that's what Infinity War and Endgame was. It was the climax of everything it's been building to. Now they have to let out some steam, and now they're rebuilding.
Portion of people not bothering with the Marvel shows on Disney Plus, but it's also why every Marvel theatrical release aside from Spider-Man since late 2019 has done abysmal at the box office, at least by the supposed billion-dollar standard Marvel, or at least Marvel's sycophants that rewatch it on loop have set for it. But make no...
Marvel sycophants. Wow. Just call people names just because they like a movie. Get a grip, dude.
Mistake, interest has plummeted, and so has the MCU's quality. Realistically speaking, the MCU's assets, what remains, what is left, is quite honestly pathetic at this.
Well, I've already pointed out that Phase 4 is outperforming Phase 1 quite a bit. It's about on par with Phase 2 as far as financial success, which actually is impressive considering they're building off of the pandemic, which did hurt box office numbers across the board. Not just the MCU, but pretty much across the board. Yes, there are outliers, like No Way Home. And Doctor Strange 2 is honestly an outlier too. It's almost at $1 billion. Top Gun Maverick's going to be an outlier. Jurassic World Dominion's going to be an outlier. These are outliers. And even the outliers aren't... breaking serious records outside of No Way Home. No Way Home was a serious outlier. That did extremely well. That did pre-pandemic numbers. I think the other movies I mentioned, I think an argument can be Top Gun Maverick definitely was an extreme outlier too. I think that's doing pre-pandemic numbers. That's extremely successful. That being said, Doctor Strange 2 and Jurassic World Dominion are probably going to hit the $1 billion club, but they're just kind of limping to it. They may not quite make it. I think pre-pandemic numbers, they won't have easily crossed it. But yeah, we're dealing with pre-pandemic times, and they're rebuilding. I think we're getting close to getting theaters back to where they were, but we'll see. Streaming's become a huge deal. Practically every MCU thing, maybe even all MCU things, and pretty much all Disney things, after about 6 weeks, go to Disney+. And it's not even like they're behind a paywall. 6 weeks later, they're going to be on Disney+. So streaming's become a huge deal as well. Which means a lot of the money Disney's going to be making off this stuff is going to be hidden behind subscriber numbers. So we don't actually know the full numbers. Disney will know them. But the fact is, putting all this pandemic stuff aside, putting the Disney Plus numbers aside, overall box office numbers, Phase 4 is doing about the same numbers as Phase 2, and significantly better than Phase 1.
Point, which has led Feige and his team of hacks to a new strategy and another avenue to avoid the slightest bit of creativity in their line of work. See, make no mistake, the only reason most people above the average norm of MCU fans went to see Spider-Man No Way Home, aside from the fact that Spider-Man the IP is enormously popular, that movie's ridiculously undeserved box office numbers is because of the MCU's shameless theft of assets from other Spider-Man movies that had nothing to do with the MCU.
Shameless theft of other Spider-Man movies? You are aware, number one, outside of the movies, the MCU, or more specifically Marvel and Disney, own all of Spider-Man, period, with the exception of the movies. And if you add in the movies, that's where Sony owns it. Sony owns all the Spider-Man IP as far as movies, specifically. And that's it. Everything else is Marvel Disney. That being said, No Way Home is a joint Sony-Disney production. So they have access to the whole thing, so I don't see how that's fucking theft.
The MCU was in fact the least memorable part of its latest blockbuster that was helmed by a different company entirely, since they don't own the movie rights to Spider-Man. Sony does, and everyone showed up to see some fan-favorite familiar faces reprise their roles, and that's it.
And you know what? I still give credit for the reason why that movie works, and why the Spider-Man MCU movies work at all to Marvel. Because have you seen what Sony has done with the Spider-Man IP? Venom, a couple Venom movies, which I will admit are not the worst things ever, but they're quite bad. And if it weren't for Tom Hardy cheesing it up with his performance, it'd be quite unwatchable.
Now I'm gonna call the police.
No, please don't call the police. Okay, call an ambulance. I'm a doctor. This man is my, patient.
Much better.
And then Morbius, which doesn't have the benefit of Tom Hardy cheesing it up, which is why that movie is just boring. Although I do love the moment where Morbius looks at the camera and says it's Morbin time. That was a great moment in that movie.
The highest grossing movies to date in the MCU achieved that feat by one of the most shameless means possible, and now it seems Doctor Strange is attempting...
One of the most shameless means possible. Yes, these are comic book movies. Comic book movies are all about fan service. Doing fan service is like anything else. You just have to do it well. Does No Way Home do it well? Yeah, they do it extremely well. Doctor Strange 2 does it extremely well too. Admittedly, No Way Home definitely does it better than Doctor Strange 2, but they both do it well. Fan service is just essentially another tool in their toolbox. It's something that MCU and DC, a lot of these big franchises have. Star Wars has it. It's one of the tools in the toolbox of the movies. All the movies have to have a little bit of fan service. This is guaranteed. They will have to have a little bit of it. How they make use of it is what matters. No Way Home makes excellent use of it. Clearly drawing inspiration from Into the Spider-Verse, which is a better movie. But they do a really good job with it in No Way Home.
To do the exact same thing. But seeing as this is a film completely helmed by Kevin Feige and not tempered by Sony like No Way Home was, it's going to attempt to do what No Way Home did to an even greater degree, but to miserable effect. And because people indulged No Way Home and its bullshit to such an insane degree, congratulations! You have now set yet the latest in terrible Marvel movie trend. You have told Dickhead Feige and the rest of the Marvel executives they don't have to write good movies anymore. Hell, they don't even have to produce...
Well, you said you haven't seen anything since Black Widow, so have you seen No Way Home? Because No Way Home's pretty fucking good.
Good trailers anymore. They just gotta throw out some cameo bait, and that will be enough to lure a sizable portion of dumb fucks into the cinemas, enough to make their money back.
You do know that's largely what the MCU is built on. Granted, with this new Phase 4, they're expanding out to the multiverse, borrowing characters from other timelines. So other Marvel characters we saw that aren't part of the MCU can now, pop up in the MCU. But before that, during the Infinity Saga, still the big draw was hey, such and such Black Widow's gonna be in the Winter Soldier. Iron Man's gonna be in Captain America 3. And the Avengers movies are just the huge team-up movies where everybody teams up. That's kind of what the MCU's built on. And the idea is they're going to do this, but they also do a decent job with the movies. Are these the best comic book movies ever? No, but are they largely pretty good? Yeah. Essentially, what the MCU has done that is impressive is it hasn't made a complete shit show of a movie yet. It's essentially Dark World is its worst movie, and it is nowhere, but it's not a complete shit show either. Say what you will about Dark World, it is a lot better than Batman v Superman. I would watch Dark World again in a heartbeat before Batman v Superman, which is just a chore to get through.
It's the very reason why Doctor Strange is going through so many last-minute reshoots, and you can expect the same for every single MCU.
Okay, I hate this idea that reshoots automatically mean bad, because that's not what a reshoot means. Big budget movies almost always have reshoots. Sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. It all depends why. Doctor Strange 2 was fine. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought Sam Raimi was really able to get his voice through in that movie, and I appreciate it quite a bit. But reshoots, especially in a big budget movie, are going to be common. Could be a good sign, could be a bad sign. It all depends the reason why.
MCU project going forward. So way to go, Planet Earth. If you thought the MCU was a soulless pile of hollow shit before, it's about to get a lot worse.
So it begins.
Despite this trend that's about to become the norm for the MCU, and the sycophantic masses will undoubtedly welcome it with open arms.
I like how he keeps on calling them sycophants. He admitted he was a fan of the MCU until Far From Home, and he hasn't even been watching it since then, except for Black Widow, and then everybody who's still watching is a sycophant. So, you can't be cool like him unless you haven't watched it. Come on, man. I'm not saying you have to watch it, but you can't judge it until you've watched it.
Let's be real here, aside from Doctor Strange 2, what has this aimless clusterfuck of a once excellent franchise got left to offer us? Thor Love and Thunder? Black Panther 2 after Chadwick Boseman's tragic death? She-Hulk? Seriously, the fact that people still pretend this franchise is...
Actually, I'm kind of looking forward to She-Hulk. It will have already premiered by the time this video comes out, but recording it comes out tomorrow. It genuinely looks like fun. I didn't even realize it'd be it seems like they're going to be bringing the fourth wall breaking into the series, which I didn't even realize they'd be doing. I thought they would hold that off for Deadpool, which is cool, because in the comic book, she did that too. I think it'll be a fun series. It looks good.
The top of its game is absolutely baffling to me. Is it denial, perhaps? Or is it just straight up delusion? And this brings me to another reason for the MCU's decline and why I'm done with it, and that's the culture surrounding it. It's gotten to the point where Marvel doesn't even have to market its shitty films anymore, despite the decline in overall viewer interest and the plummeting quality of the movies themselves.
They don't have to market it? I'm missing that. I miss the point where they don't market the movies anymore. Please enlighten me about how they don't market these movies anymore.
This shitfuck of a company has fostered one of the most insufferable cults I've ever seen. In addition to that, you have mass amounts of influencers churning out fake news, leaks, rumors, etc., which can be summed up like this. What if this person shows up? Cue the absolute fucking...
Oh my god, yes, those things are annoying, but they've been around forever. The MCU... Yeah, maybe it's grown with the MCU, but yeah, no, they always like to do stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is inane drivel. There's probably some that's alright, but a lot of it's just drivel. I don't watch it. But the difference between something like this and something like you haven't gone full-fledged into it, but we'll see, you got like a good amount of time left on this video, is... bitching about women and black people in movies and stuff like that. I would much rather deal with the inane drivel like this, or fucking watch Mojo, or even CinemaSins, as opposed to the anti-woke crowd yelling about shit. 'Cause that stuff's inane. This stuff that you're hedging really close to, we'll see where we go with this, is just bad. Just outright bad.
Mass fandom hysteria in the comment sections. All over social media. This goes beyond simple fandom. This is what I've come to call theory culture, and a bunch of shameless tards who throw everything at the internet about an upcoming movie or product to see what sticks in order to try and light a powder keg that hangs off every word waiting to explode. Sure, I'd say that every fandom has this to some extent, but Marvel's is on a whole nother level of insufferable.
Well, Marvel's has it on a whole nother level because it's probably got the biggest fandom. Arguably, Star Wars might be bigger, but yeah, no, those have to be the biggest fandoms at this point. Do you really think the biggest problem with Marvel movies is that random people on the internet make theory videos? I mean, I'd like to hear your philosophy on that. That doesn't... It's annoying, but it's not like, oh my god, worst thing ever.
And that's all because of these goddamn algorithms. Which is why, despite my best efforts, I had to listen to a whole year and a half of bullshit hype and speculation surrounding Spider-Man No Way Home. Sure, I did somewhat contribute to that, but only sparingly, as I did some trailer breakdowns and videos in the lead up to the film's release. But aside from that, I avoided these theory cultists like the fucking plague. And every fucking day on my feed, it was just Spider-Man No Way Home, Topher Grace, Venom appearing, Sandman is from an alternate timeline, Dr. Octopus is actually a clone, Doctor Strange is turning evil, Tom Hardy is the real villain, etc., just non-fucking stop bullshit theories based on nothing but a piss weak he said, she said from some nobody who cooked it up. Because 90% of the time, it wasn't the Marvel executives or cast and...
I hardly have perfect audio, but there's this weird crackle that sometimes distracts me on his audio. I don't know what it's from at all.
Crew saying this stuff, it was fan media, and the worst of mainstream YouTube spouting this crap. And because do not recommend is no match for the almighty algorithm on YouTube, we had no choice short of going cold turkey from the fucking internet from avoiding this crap. Marvel and Sony didn't sell No Way Home.
Well, usually when it queues up something like this, I just hit back and then pick something I'd rather watch. Yeah, so I feel like you have a lot of issues with the algorithm like I do, but it's different. You get a lot of the algorithm stuff pushing you for the fan theories and inane drivel, Watch Mojo, shit like that. And it's weird, I don't get a whole lot of that. What I get is a lot of the anti-woke movie reviews. I think because I'm looking more from movie reviews, I get a lot of this anti-woke shit, which is, I would argue, infinitely worse. I would rather have inane drivel than people yelling about, oh my god, there's a woman starring in a Marvel movie. Oh my god, did you hear that this next project is gonna have a trans person in it for 2 seconds? God damn, I'd much rather hear bullshit theories.
They put out a couple of leaks and some trailer bait, but it was the fans that did the rest. The fans sold this movie to the fans. And Marvel barely had to lift a fucking finger. Theory after rumor after fake news, all for the grand total of who fucking gives a shit. And this is because...
Well, he is true. The fans will put out lots of fake videos, real videos about fake theories. And that essentially does work as free publicity for Disney, Sony in this project. That is absolutely true. It doesn't mean they didn't do any publicity for it. We got trailers, we got TV spots, you can look them up.
Become so rampantly popular among this vast niche of sycophants that it's become prevalent for Marvel's B-movie.
Okay, you keep on calling them sycophants, but even by your own admission, you've done stuff like this before. Is your argument is that the algorithm shouldn't be benefiting the guys who make random theories? I have mixed feelings about it, because I do find it inane, but a lot of these are just people who are really big fans and want to talk about it and have crazy ideas. So it's hard for me to get too mad at them. That being said, I don't really like their stuff and I don't watch it because, rarely do you get any theory that holds any water. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. Like I said, I don't watch it. And I guess you could make the same argument for what I'm doing. But what I'm doing, I'm actually going after, like, the really big movie reviewers on YouTube. Like, the biggest ones right now. And that's what's driving me nuts. And I'll be blunt, anti-woke is nothing more than a dog whistle, meaning racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia. And that's not the type of thing I like to see in my fandoms.
Movies as well, like Doctor Strange, for instance, because yes, Doctor Strange is a B-tier Marvel character, especially in the MCU, and especially after No Way Home, where his character was practically fucking ruined. And now, bafflingly...
Wait, have you seen No Way Home? I thought you said you haven't seen anything. I'm confused. Well, I don't know what he's seen.
The sycophants are trying to do the same thing with Thor, Love and Thunder, who, despite the character's popularity, has only had movies ranging from bad to mediocre.
Ragnarok was awesome. What are you talking about?
Ragnarok is very much included in the bad category, just for your information. Seriously.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man. Ragnarok was awesome.
Fuck Taika Waititi. Congrats on making Thor a complete fucking joke, and thank Christ Infinity War was right around the corner to show the stark difference in quality character writing for Thor, because Ragnarok had nothing on Infinity War. And when Taika Waititi, that overrated hack piece of shit, is done ruining Thor, he's running off to pour more dirt on Star Wars' grave. Great! Can't wait for that! But back on point, after all the theories and the rumors and the fucking bullshit surrounding Spider-Man No Way Home were all said and done, what exactly were we treated to? A bloated, nostalgia bait, fan service orgy fest that was so contrived and sloppily written it was impossible to take seriously, and ultimately, not to mention, butchered Doctor Strange right before his very own fucking movie that many stans are supposedly still excited for. No Way Home sucked. It had only a few decent moments, sure, but the quality as a whole was a joke, and once again, leave it to theory culture and fandom pandering to offer some of the most pathetic mental gymnastics I've ever seen to justify that movie's shitty fucking writing. Because who cares?
Okay, so he has seen No Way Home. So have you seen Phase 4 or have you not seen Phase 4? It's like the last MCU movie I've seen is Far From Home. Oh, and by the way, I've also seen Black Widow and No Way Home. What have you seen, man? Tell me. Holy shit. I feel like he's trying to do this thing where it's like, I'm so cool, I don't watch the MCU anymore. I haven't seen it for years. And by the way, here's my thoughts on the movie that they released last fucking winter. Wait, what? Have you seen it or not? Dude, And as for your thoughts on No Way Home, you're allowed to dislike No Way Home. I am fine with that. I completely disagree. I think No Way Home's a lot of fun. It's not the best Spider-Man movie. It might be third best. I'd put it behind Spider-Man 2 and Into the Spider-Verse.
It's about that when the babies get their fucking bottle. It's all about the cameos.
Yeah, and we gotta make fun of the people who liked it. Oh, if you liked it, you're a baby. You're a sycophant. Jesus Christ. Dude. Are you just upset that people liked something you didn't?
Now, the cameos are what fucking matter.
Maybe No Way Home went over your head. Maybe you couldn't quite figure it out. Maybe that's it. Jesus, dude.
I don't want to stray too far off topic. If you want a more nuanced look at why No Way Home is terrible, there's a link to my video in the description. But my point is this, all that mass...
Well, that he calls it a lovable disaster. Lovable disaster kind of implies that you like it. It's kind like lovable disaster. Like, I would consider The Room a lovable disaster. The Room's really bad, but it's entertaining. Roadhouse is a lovable disaster. So, are you saying you just completely hate it, or it's a bad movie that you found entertaining? Like, did you find it entertaining at all? I don't know.
Hysteria, theory-baiting bullshit surrounding the movie didn't change the inevitable garbage product that we received, and despite that...
Yeah, this just sounds like you dislike it, which does not make it a lovable disaster. It makes it a disaster.
No Way Home, thanks to the brainlets who ate that shit up, but this time on overdrive, turned No Way Home into the most overrated Marvel movie of all time. MCU or otherwise. Congratulations.
Wow, this really seems based on the idea that he just really hates No Way Home, which is a fun movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Spider-Verse, you no longer hold that title. But it's important to note, this decline in quality and overexposure the MCU is experiencing isn't solely limited to it. An excellent comparison would be another series that I was once a diehard fan for that completely went down the shitter, and that would be the Fast and Furious franchise. A series that had its haters like the MCU from day one, for being a movie series about street racing and pushing the bounds of believability with speed. But see, that was just what made it different. Because at its core, Fast and Furious was an action crime drama just like any other. We didn't...
At its core, the original Fast and Furious is a remake of Point Break. It really is. If you haven't seen Point Break, yeah, it's the same movie. It's not a bad remake. It's okay. Point Break's better, but it's not bad. The second one's pretty bad. Third one's actually entertaining. Tokyo Drift is pretty entertaining. Fourth one is... Oh god, the fourth one was so goddamn boring. The fourth Fast and Furious movie. And then the fifth one's probably the best one. And then since then, we've been dealing with a mixed bag of largely okay. I do feel like the franchise has gone so dumb since the fifth one. And even the fifth one's kind of dumb. What made the fifth one kind of work is that it embraced the dumbness. And how well the franchise has worked since then is depended on how well it embraces the dumbness. Like the last one, Fast and Furious 9? That was the dumbest shit I've seen in a while, but I can't help but watch it with a smile on my face. I mean, they went to fucking space in that one. That was so goddamn fucking stupid, I loved it. That's a lovable disaster. Although I don't even know how much disaster really qualifies, because it's clearly done on purpose. But it's not good, but you watch it with a smile on your face.
I didn't care that it placed an emphasis on street racing, because guess what? That's what we fucking liked about it in the first place. But that's another tangent. Point I'm getting at is, despite its detractors, the franchise persevered right up until its fifth installment, where it decided to change up its formula and stray away from the niche, becoming...
Yes, because as franchises keep on going, they need to change up the formula. This is a fact. They actually need to do this. They can't do the same thing over and over again. They need to figure out a new direction to keep the franchise alive. That's just what they have to do.
Something akin to a Mission Impossible ripoff. But it was still great, at least for a while, because the story and characters still had momentum to build off, and not to mention there were plot threads yet to be wrapped up. But then tragedy struck in the lead up to the seventh and presumably final installment of the series at the time, when Paul Walker, the main protagonist for the entire series, tragically died. Paul Walker and Vin...
Was Paul Walker the main protagonist? I always felt it was kind of shared between him and Vin Diesel.
Diesel started the series, and by God, the fans wanted them to finish it together. Which is why the ending to Fast and Furious 7 was so highly well regarded, because it felt like the end. All the plot points were wrapped up. The series had peaked. Paul Walker was given a heartfelt goodbye that was so touching it made grown men feel their hearts shatter. I'd equate this to the end of Avengers Endgame and the death of Tony Stark and the retirement of Steve Rogers. Both characters were undoubtedly the leads of the MCU, and Endgame was the last movie for both of them. At least as far as we know. Remember, it's Marvel we're talking about. They'll be bullshitted back to life somehow, and Stans will still gobble it up. But
well, I feel the big difference was with Furious 7, there was an argument of whether or not they'll make another one after that. And of course they did. They did The Fate of the Furious, which isn't great, but it's fine. But there is an argument. Endgame, even though it was built up as the end of the Infinity Saga, was never built up as the end of the MCU, ever, because Spider-Man Far From Home was literally around the corner. So, no, it was never the same thing.
But back on point, regardless of how you feel about Endgame, the movie was undoubtedly the climax of the MCU. All the plot points were wrapped up. The big bad was vanquished.
Well, all the plot points were wrapped up. All the major plot points, sure. But we still had lots of characters who had yet to really been explored. Doctor Strange had one movie at that point. We knew there'd be a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We knew there'd be more Doctor Strange. We knew there had to be more Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Those movies did huge box office numbers, so of course there's going to be more of them. We knew there'd be more MCU. You're just complaining because they wrapped up the first big story and now they have to rebuild to another big story. It really feels like it's like these cool kids who want to like bash on the MCU right now, when honestly it's just kind of doing the same thing it's been doing. Occasionally you get a good movie, but lots of them are just kind of fine. And that's all the MCU's been the entire time. I hate to break it to you, the type of quality we get in Phase 4 is kind of standard MCU quality. You get a couple standouts and a couple things that are fine. They haven't done anything completely terrible yet, which is fairly consistent on them. Just lots of stuff that's fine and a couple of standouts.
Squished, and that should have been the end, right there and then. But was it? No! Just like the Fast and Furious franchise, it refused to die gracefully and has limped on terribly ever since.
Well, except what evidence did you have that they were ever saying that would be the end? Because they never said that would be the end. Ever. Because we knew the MCU was essentially a movie studio that would do things more like comic books. And you remember how comic books have ended? And there's no more comic books Oh, that's right. They're still doing comic books.
Getting progressively worse and worse. And in the case of the Fast and Furious, despite its box office revenues...
Oh, I did forget about Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw was pretty bad. Fast 9's, I think, is entertainingly dumb. Fate of the Furious is meh. It's good enough. Yeah.
Fans have finally, especially with its latest release, reached their breaking point, refusing to indulge its bullshit any longer. Because Fast 9 was received terribly. Because those movies get progressively worse and rely on their audience, praying for them to be as dumb and accepting as humanly possible. You know, it's funny because I've heard similar excuses.
I feel like the issue might be that people didn't realize how dumb the Fast and Furious movies were. Because I've thought they've been dumb for a long time, and I feel like now they're just embracing it, and then people didn't realize, oh, they're actually dumb. And yeah, they're dumb. They've been dumb for a while.
For the Fast franchises I've heard for the MCU, comic book movies are meant to be dumb fun. Movies about cars and street racing are meant to be dumb fun. And my personal favorite, these movies were always meant to be stupid. Well,
I don't know if they're always meant to be stupid. I would disagree with that. They are supposed to be dumb fun, but here's the deal. The idea behind dumb fun is sometimes you can do something really cool with dumb fun. You can. I definitely feel like the MCU is not nearly as dumb as Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious has been flat out dumb for a while. MCU's got some standouts. But yeah, I mean, if you just don't want comic book movies, which here, let's go ahead and be honest. There's going to be some dumbness in all comic book movies. It's just going to be, it's built into it. It has to be there. If you don't want that at all, there's plenty of serious dramas and shit you can watch. Watch some... Well, that's the thing. Like, even if you go into, like, a lot of action movies, like John Wick or something like that, there's plenty of dumb stuff in John Wick. Yeah, don't go into an action movie and say, I want this to be like fucking Shakespeare, because they're not.
Oh, fucking shit. That's a crutch to deny the fact that what you love has become garbage because you don't want to accept it, because you can't help indulging it, because you're a slave to it. The very reason why people get angry.
Alright, dude. Do me a favor. Show me the Marvel movie. Show me the Marvel Phase 4 movie that's worse than The Dark World. Do me that favor.
At this stuff in the first place is because of the decline of franchises like the MCU and the Fast franchise. The reason they get angry is because they started out great and they turned...
MCU did not start out great. Well, I guess the original Iron Man's very good. Incredible Hulk's kind of nowhere. Thor, I like Kenneth Branagh. It's fine, the first Thor movie. The first Captain America movie's pretty good. Avengers is really good. And then you go into Phase 2, Iron Man 3's pretty good. Or Thor 2 is completely fucking forgettable. It's like Phase 4. Because the whole MCU's been like this. It's some standouts, but mostly stuff that ranges from meh to good.
Into garbage. Now, to be clear, if I haven't made it already, I do respect the fact that the franchise still has its fans. That's not what sickens me. It's the sycophants that are keeping it on life support. To sum it up, I'm just going to use my recent community post. When I say sycophants, I mean Marvel stans that are so consistently insecure whenever people criticize this garbage. In the comment sections, they'll say things like, "It's just the trailers, you can't judge the movie based on that, how about you..."
Well, that's a comment from him. Marvel stans who act like every Marvel movie is the second coming of Christ before they've even finished watching the trailer. Durr, you're such a hater. You can't judge a movie by the trailer. Durr. Me. You're right. The franchise is so fucking awful in 2022. I can judge the movie before the trailer even comes out. Here's the deal. You can't judge it before the trailer. You can't even judge it during the trailer. You have to judge what it is. The trailer is just a sizzle reel, man. Judging a whole series or movie with the trailer, yeah, that's dishonest at best. You have to actually watch what they put out. I've seen plenty of bad trailers for good stuff, and I've seen plenty of good trailers for bad stuff. Trailer's not a good representation. The trailer is a sizzle reel to get your butt in the seat. And I do think it's interesting. His example of a dumb MCU fan is a comment by him where he's mocking MCU fans. Not the best example, dude.
You wait for the actual movie to come out. To which I say, fair enough. I won't judge the movie based on the trailer because I can already adequately judge the movie before it even fucking comes out. You know, I started doing this after Endgame, and guess what? I haven't been wrong since. And I'll even add, why don't you wait until you've finished watching the damn trailer before calling yet another of Marvel's D-list the greatest Marvel movie ever made?
This has potential of being the greatest Marvel crossover yet. What's wrong with that? I mean, technically all of them have the potential to be the greatest Marvel crossover yet. The fact that he uses the word potential, it's like, yeah, he could post this on anything. It's pretty generic.
Now, undoubtedly, some people are gonna say, well, that seems a bit unfair that you just make up your mind like that before even watching the movies. What if you end up being wrong? Good question. There's an answer to that too. If I end up being wrong about a Marvel movie's quality and it comes out and it turns out to actually be good, I win! That's great! Cool, I'll watch it. Why not? Why wouldn't I want to watch a good movie? But here's the thing. I highly doubt that's going to happen. Because...
So, let me get this straight, because here's the argument you literally just made. I'm gonna go ahead and shit on every Marvel movie that comes out before it comes out. And if it happens to be good, hey, cool, I got a good movie. So you're just admitting you're just gonna shit on it all. And if it happens to be good, okay. So all your speculation leading up to it is going to be garbage, because you just admit all you're gonna do is shit on it. So what's the point in your even listening to your speculation before the movie comes out? What's the point?
All of the evidence suggests otherwise. Like I said, one of the major reasons I'm finally dropping the MCU is because, unlike the millions of people who pretend to be, I, for one, am just not excited anymore. Why would I be?
And that is fine. But why are you making a huge video talking about how you're not going to look at the MCU anymore? And if you're not going to, how many videos have you done since this one? So this was April 26, 2022. So I guess you mostly since then you've done Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff, but you've done 2 or 3 MCU movies, depending on whether or not you want to count this one fucking twice. Sure. So even though you're done with the MCU, you're still gonna bash on it. I gotcha.
Why would I be excited to be baited into the theater with cameos and teasers just to see another dumpster fire? Now, to put it in perspective, and before people likely assume this, I'm not a hardcore DC fan. I'm actually way more invested in Marvel than I am in DC. And I'll absolutely agree the DCEU is worse than the MCU, at least for the most part. But say what you want about DC's movie releases. Since the Infinity Saga wrapped up with Endgame, DC has been on absolute fucking fire, while Marvel has just been continuously plummeting and plummeting. Think about it. If we exclude Wonder Woman 84, which is my personal pick for the worst DCEU movie released to date, and hopefully the end of Patty Jenkins' career, might I add, aside from that,
Wow, the end of her career? So here's the deal. I actually like 84. It's got issues, I'll give you that. But actually hoping for the end of a talented director's career just because they made one movie you dislike? Jesus Christ, dude.
What else have we been treated to? Joker 2019 was an absolute fucking home run. The Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Both were...
Okay, so Joker's overrated. Zack Snyder's Justice League is overrated. God, they just need to trim down Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is way too long. Let's see. I don't know if he's gone to the Suicide Squad yet, but Suicide Squad is really good. Birds of Prey is underrated. That one's good. I'm trying to think, what else is there?
Extremely well received. I can't speak for them personally because I haven't seen them, but...
Oh, Peacemaker. Peacemaker was really good.
That's the general consensus, at least. But most recently, Matt Reeves' The Batman came out, and it looks to be yet another home run from DC.
It looks to be yet another home... Have you not seen it? I don't want to bash it, because here's the deal. That's almost like Zack Snyder's Justice League, where it's actually really good, but Jesus Christ, it needs cut. It is way too long.
Matter of fact, it was The Batman that made me come to this realization about my apathy towards the MCU. I loved making my review of The Batman. I felt
So you have seen it, okay?
passion for it, because it was a great fucking superhero movie, but most importantly, it was just a great fucking movie, tied to no cinematic universe or prequels or sequels whatsoever. It wasn't the piece of a larger whole. It was the whole fucking package. And thus, I wanted to talk about why it was great. My Black Widow video, on the other hand, was an absolute fucking chore to get through, and likely many of you do not know this. I couldn't stand talking about it. It was yet another Marvel disaster with no substance that ruined a character I loved. And on top of that, it was just completely inconsequential because it came out after Endgame when we already knew the character's fate. So I felt no passion to make that video. I'm glad a lot of you enjoyed it, but it was not a good creative process for me. And
I feel like maybe you shouldn't have made that video then?
feel much the same when I think about Doctor Strange 2. I know it's going to be another Marvel disaster. I have no desire to make a video about it, and the thought of forcing myself to go through the process of making another lengthy review for a movie I can't stand from a franchise I hold in complete apathy at this point honestly turns my stomach. So yeah, consider me way more excited for whatever DC has coming next than what Marvel does. Hell, consider me more excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 than anything Marvel has coming out now or in the distant future. With the exception of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Because despite my issues with Spider-Verse, that sequel sounds way more fucking interesting than anything the MCU has coming out. And
I don't even know what you've seen. You keep on talking about how you haven't seen it, then you talk about how you watched it, and it's like, what the fuck.
And finally, and I need to address something right fucking now, people can hate and joke about James Cameron's Avatar all they want. That hate bandwagon was a pile of shit ever since the internet and its vast collection of pseudo-intellectuals fucking invented it. The first Avatar was just Dances with Wolves with blue people in space. Yeah, The Last Samurai was Dances with Wolves in fucking Japan. And despite that, that movie's a fucking goddamn masterpiece. Now, just to be clear, I know that isn't the only problem people seem to have with Avatar, that the movie's plot is derivative, but it seems to be the most common and stupidly regurgitated criticism out there, and not to mention it's pretty hypocritical for that matter if the people who are spouting that are the same people who latch onto every single MCU movie. They got...
I don't know the Venn diagram for fans of Avatar and fans of the MCU. I like Avatar. It's not the best thing ever. I like it.
some nerve to call Avatar derivative. But whilst making the comparison to The Last Samurai in terms of plot alone, that's not to put Avatar on the same pedestal. Fact of the matter is, Avatar did well at the box office because it was good. It arguably did better at the box office than it probably deserved, if I'm being fair. But a bunch of people got so butthurt by that, they tried to turn James Cameron's movie and franchise into a joke by shitting all over it. Like I said, make your jokes. But I, for one, am way more excited about a sci-fi space adventure helmed by one of the most legendary directors and movie makers of all time, who spent over a decade making the next installment to his franchise on his own budget. I'm way more excited for that than the 20th something fucking installment in a franchise that pukes up B movies constantly, has oversaturated its own market to death, is helmed by the same incompetent fucking creative executives, likely won't even be its own complete...
Same incompetent creative executives, the one that led it to be the most popular film franchise in history. Yeah, that's incompetence for you. I don't know if you have a good understanding of what incompetence means.
Movie, but yet another setup waste of time for what's coming next, and ended up being a pile of shit on its own anyway. Seriously, hate Avatar all you want. It means I'll get to watch the Avatar sequel in an empty fucking theater on the big screen all by my fucking self and likely love every fucking second of it. Like I said, MCU is a corporately produced soulless collection of predominantly garbage designed to tick boxes and make money. Avatar and its sequel is a movie on a grand sci-fi fucking scale made by one director, one author, one voice on his own budget after a decade of development and planning, as well as pioneering new technology in order to get it done. Do you guys remember the last time we got something even close to a product like that which ticks all of the boxes I just listed at that sort of scale? Here's a little hint. So yeah, you bet your ass.
Oh, the original Star Wars didn't have nearly the budget of something like Avatar. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'm way more excited for the Avatar sequel than I am for Doctor Strange Part 2, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther 2, or just about anything else the MCU has.
And that is fine, but you've spent this entire video shitting on the MCU, and even in this video admitted that you're just gonna shit on it no matter what? Before the trailers even come out, you're just gonna shit on it. And then if it happens to be good, oh, you know, yay, I saw a good movie, but I'm just gonna shit on it beforehand anyway. It speaks to outrageous dishonesty, dude.
As on the horizon. So yeah, I'm fucking done with this garbage. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And if anything, I'm late to the party because there's a ton of people out there who had the foresight to drop off much, much sooner where I likely should have. So on a more personal note, for those of you subscribed to this channel who really like my content, what does this mean for the channel going forward? Well, it means I'm done indulging any new MCU content. So please, don't expect a review of Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness. Certainly don't expect a review of Thor Love and Thunder, or any new MCU release. I refuse to contribute to the shameless theory and bait news culture that talks about Easter eggs or straight up invents them to build hype or farm views, along with the endless theory and rumor videos based on approximately jack shit in order to milk revenue and contribute to another dumb hype train for something terrible. No reaction videos either, or trailer breakdowns, because I see that as also contributing to speculation in one form or another, whether it being negative or positive for that matter. I also wanted to deviate from the hypocrisy of a lot of reviewers out there who constantly, and rightfully I might add, complain about Marvel and the MCU and its declining quality, but will also choose to continue to keep indulging it despite recognizing it's garbage because it's algorithm friendly and because it's the equivalent of critically shooting a very popular fish in a barrel for views, despite the reviewers holding no real passion for it. It's just easy and it's popular, that's all. And here's my rationale. You guys know the saying, vote with your wallet, right? Well, guess what? Voting with your time as well is just as strong of a message, and that's kind of the message I want to send going forward on this channel. The most interaction I think I'll have with the MCU going forward is discussing the aftermath of certain releases on the podcast, because even though I despise what the MCU has become, I do find discussing its decline and the shifting fan base as well as the comic book movie genre and the industry rather fascinating. I'm certainly more interested in that than actually reviewing the garbage products. Despite what it's become, I do appreciate the MCU's existence for the good times, as I've had many thanks to it. But even though I won't indulge future MCU projects, that doesn't mean I'm done talking about Marvel in general. There's still plenty regarding Marvel I'd like to make videos on. And I still do want to discuss the MCU's Infinity Saga because I still have an investment in it. Whether it's adoration or despise. I got plenty of videos in mind, particularly one regarding a project from the director of the upcoming Doctor Strange movie, as a matter of fact. If there's a shred of compassion left in my body for the MCU, the only reason I don't want Doctor Strange to bomb hard is because I'm a fan of the director, and when that movie comes out and is undoubtedly terrible, the blowback should not fall on him. Sam Raimi is an excellent director, and
Well, I do think it's interesting how you're like, hey, Doctor Strange 2 will suck, but I hope it doesn't ruin Sam Raimi's career. By the way, Wonder Woman 2 sucked, and I hope it ruins Patty Jenkins' career. I think that's an interesting dichotomy there.
Hardcore comic book fan, but Jesus Christ himself can't save the movie that he's attached to. When Doctor Strange 2 ends up being terrible, it, like all the others, falls.
And I think it's also worth noting, he's already admitted he's going to shit on all MCU products, and they have to be good, they'll be good, but he's going to shit on it leading up to it.
Right on Kevin Feige for being an absolute joke of a creator, piggybacking.
Dude, he's been in charge of it the whole fucking time. If you've liked the MCU at all, that's because of Kevin fucking Feige.
Off the talent of his betters and standing on the shoulders of giants like Whedon and Favreau, who did bring out the best of the MCU
Whedon's not aged well. No.
before he ran it into the ground.
Hey, I genuinely think Whedon is a talented creator. I have to admit that, but god damn, he's an asshole.
And regardless of what happens, I hope Sam Raimi can come out of Doctor Strange 2 clean, with reputation intact, so that Sony can finally let him move on to finish the comic book movie series he started long ago, because that's one superhero project that just might get me excited again. MCU, thanks for coming into our lives, but like any bad smell or insufferable guest who's outstayed their welcome, just go the fuck away already. Anyway guys, that brings us to the end. Thank you all for checking out this video and putting up with my angry ranting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the current state of the MCU in the comments below. Feel free to join my Discord if you want to chat to my community about the MCU, Marvel, comic book movies in general, and plenty of other topics as well. I've left a link in the description. Check it out at your leisure, and who knows, maybe you'll make some friends along the way. A special thank you to my Patreon.
Okay, he's done. God, that's a pretty bad video. So
supporters and YouTube.
For the most part, I'll admit I don't have a huge problem with this. I do kind of want to add a comment in here. Alright, I felt the need to comment on this one. So you've just admitted that you'll shit on everything MCU, even if it ends up being good. I'm 100% cool if you're burnt out on the MCU stuff, because there is a lot. But insulting the fans by calling them names only contributes to the toxic fandom culture. If you don't want to watch MCU projects and give them an honest chance, that's fine. But then also don't insult them. Lots of creators across the board put a lot of hard work into these movies. If you're going to review them fairly. Yeah, I just felt the need to say something. Because I will be blunt. That's not by a mile the worst video I've ever seen doing this series where I look at these videos. He didn't really go into the anti-woke stuff. Oop, lost the earbud. Not a huge deal. He didn't really go into the anti-woke stuff or anything like I was concerned he would, because it seemed like he would go in that direction, but he didn't, to his credit. But he did still go ahead and insult the fans by calling them sycophants, just for still liking something. And he even said he didn't watch them, even though it seemed like he was still watching them, so I'm really not sure, like, what he's seen. But yeah, if you're going to give these things a review or anything like that, you have to watch them and you have to give them a fair shot. I I really feel like even though he's not anti-woke, he does contribute to the toxic fandom culture, and that is an issue. And I'll be the first one to say, if a movie is bad, go ahead and, go after it. But also appreciate that there are lots of creators behind the scenes that put a lot of work into these. And for you to shit on it before it's even come out is incredibly dishonest. Like, if you want to shit on a trailer when it comes out, that's fine. But shit on the trailer itself. You can't watch a trailer and judge an entire series based on a trailer. Because that's bullshit. And that's completely unfair to the people who worked on it. So yeah, I really don't agree with this video. This isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just essentially him saying, I don't want to watch anything Marvel anymore, and that's fine. Although I don't know why you need to make 25 minutes bashing on Marvel. And honestly, not even saying a whole goddamn lot, just saying it's bad now. Okay. Cool.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.